do any of you remember what that, there's a technique that you do when you're combining coils, if you coil built. Anybody remember what that's called? It's like a, that's part of it, yes, scoring and slip. Yeah, there's a process called score and slip. If you've coil built before, you probably did that. We score and slip when we're sticking any two pieces of clay together, whether it's coils or slabs or whatever. You're going to score and slip. So scoring is just another word for scratching. Some people call it scratch and slip, in fact. I call it scoring because it seems a little more aggressive, because it should be. It should be a little heavier than scratches. And then slip, what is slip? You don't remember that? Or do you know what that is?
Water and clay.
Yeah, it's just like really watery clay. So here's some right here. It's like, it's goopy. It's you know, it's like kind of sticky and maybe like the consistency of a thick pudding, or maybe really, really thick yogurt. Or like what?
Ice cream.
Oh yeah, maybe it's kind of like ice cream. It's kind of like ice cream, or what'd you say? Nutella. All right, yeah, it's like Nutella. It is probably more like Nutella or peanut butter. It's real similar to Nutella or peanut butter. So it's not runny, but it's very, very, very soft. So this is basically just clay and water. And so we use this to help combine two pieces of clay together when you're scoring and slipping. So to score and slip something together, you're going to use this tool, which is called a scoring tool. You can buy these online at scoringtools.com or other specialty retailers. It's just a fork. No, there's not scoringtools.com. I should get that website. No, it's just a fork. It's just a fork. But check it out. When you use the fork,
You mean the scoring tool?
excuse me, scoring tool. Scoring tool. When you use the scoring tool and you use it really roughly, you can really scratch that clay up and make it really, really rough, right? That's scoring. Scratching would be a really gentle version of that and just leave some light lines. That's not what you want. You want this thing to be rough. So let's just say, for a quick example, where'd my knife go? A quick example, I'm going to stick two pieces of clay together with score and slip. I'm not trying to actually make anything, I just want to demonstrate the scoring part and the slipping part. What I do is I take the scoring tool and I dip it in some slip and I score where I want the two pieces to go together. And make sure you go back and forth in different directions so you don't just get straight parallel lines like that. You get like lots of X marks and weird, overlapping marks, right? And so I'm going to put this edge here against that scored area there. So I need to score and slip that. I need to score and slip this.
You literally just close.
Right, scoring, slipping, and then I'm going to put that on there. But slip is not glue. It is not like glue. Thank you. It kind of looks like glue, but it is in no way adhesive. So don't think about this like glue, because if you just do that, as soon as this dries, it's just going to fall off. It's just going to happen. So the reason we score is to make this stay together. The slip doesn't do it. It's the scoring. The slip just kind of helps. So you score that edge, and when you want them to go together, you have to wiggle and push them together and really force them to those score marks to lock together, right? Now it's pretty strong. I mean, you shouldn't ultimately pick up your piece that you just scored and slipped like that, because it could fall off. But I just am demonstrating to you that it's going to hold that other piece on there, right? The analogy that I like to use for scoring and slipping is Velcro. I don't know how Velcro works. You know that Velcro is just a brand name. It's not the real thing. It's the first one, but really just, if you're just talking about the generic version of Velcro, it's called hook and loop, right? Because the soft side, the fuzzy side, is a bunch of little loops, and then the scratchy stiff side is a bunch of hooks. And the hooks grab onto the loops, and that's what holds Velcro together. So we're sort of doing that, except we're not making clay loops. It's more like we're making hooks and hooks. We're trying to get them to hook onto each other and lock in. So I've scored up these two things. I need to wiggle and push them and force those hooks together, right? So that's what I've done there. And then that's sufficient, for this little example. If I really want this thing to stay together, I need to do one more step, which I will show you on I'll show you on this thing when I get there. So I started this last period. It's going to be like a box, right? Sort of like this. I made this one this morning. This is not finished yet, but it is almost there. I need to refine it and make it look good. Right now it's attached and it's going to stay together, but it's kind of rough. You can see where my attachments are. It doesn't look pretty, right? It's not nice. So this is the beginning. These are the sides, and I've got one more side, and I need to cut one more side. But I seem to have lost my template, my paper template for cutting this thing. So we need to make another one. I need to make a 4" by 4" square template, so I can use it as a pattern, right? So how do I do that? Measure 4 inches, okay, and 4 inches, right? So it's a 4 by 4 square, right? Make sense? Right, there you go. And then I go to make that last, well, wait a minute, that's like 4 1/4 inches. What happened? Well, these three are, square has all the same sides though, right? All sides are equal? Well, if these 3 are 4, then that one has to be 4, yeah? Why is it not 4? Say it.
Offset.
What do you mean offset?
It's like this, not straight.
That's a straight line. I used it. Oh, it's not at the right angle. It is a straight line. I used a ruler. It's straight. But their angles are not 90-degree angles, right? Because I just stuck it on there and like started drawing, right? But that's what so many people do. And I say draw a 4" template, and everyone does it right in the middle of the paper too. So how could I set myself up more for success?
Edges.
Use the edge. Okay. So what do you mean use the edge?
You gotta use the corners, so measure 4 inches of the corner.
More edges. Okay, all right. So the corner, I know this should be a 90, right? This should be a 90-degree angle, and that's what we know we need is 90-degree angles. So this is a little thing that in most of my classes I refer to as street geometry, because this is not fancy geometry. This is like fancy geometry. What is that? This is the geometry you need to know when you're just like doing real things in real life. How do you make a square out of this piece of paper that's only 4 inches? Well, you can measure in from the corner, because we know that corner is a 90, so that's kind of setting us up for success. But wait a minute. Look at this ruler. Look at the ends of this thing. That's all beat up. That's actually a curve right there. It's so beat up it's not even straight. This is not a 90 anymore. So I can't trust that, can I? So how do I get around that?
Use the middle.
Use some other number. I usually just start at the 1. And so measure from 1 to 5, that's the same as 4 inches, right? So there you go. I'll do 1 to 5 there, and I'll do 1 to 5 over here, and that will give me a true 4" side on that square. So then I can just draw my lines in here, right? Measure 4 inches from 5 to 1. And then 5 to 1 here. Hey, that doesn't work either. Well, how do I make that 90 degrees? Now I'm just out there in the middle of space. How do I make sure that my other corner is 90 degrees? I could fold it, but then I'm just relying on how well I can fold, right? Measure what? Angle. But all I have is a ruler. I personally don't know how to measure a
Shove another piece of
angle.
paper in the ruler.
Get the triangle then.
I don't have one of those. I have a ruler and a... Say again?
4 inches to the other side of the paper.
Where? Draw a line 4 inches across?
No, the top.
Here?
Yeah, and then do 4 inches, and then meet both of them.
Measure 4 inches from here?
Yeah.
From here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's clever. All right, let's try that. Look at that, 4 inches. Oh, and then I connect those two lines. So now I know I have a parallel edge, right?
Yeah.
So now any line that I measure. So now what do I do? What's the last step? This is absolutely the correct step. What do I do last? Cut what out?
Straighten the square.
Straighten my line here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still don't know what straight is.
Oh, then measure 4 inches on it.
Ah, yes. Measure 4 inches over here. Look at that. Whoops. And then connect those lines. Now this is a true 90, and I can be pretty sure of that because I've got all these 90s that I'm relating it to, right? So I've got 4 perfect rectangles. Well, 1 square, 3 rectangles. Right? So that's how you're going to need to figure these things out when I'm not here. And I don't have all those math tools. I don't have protractors. I don't have compasses. All I have is rulers and pencils and scissors. You have a different way of doing it?
I usually try to do
Go for it.
my line up
this perfectly. Make sure it's just
The end of the ruler.
Yeah.
Well, I do see what you're saying, but that's what I'm saying. The ends of my rulers aren't square. It's like, it's curved because it's been so beat up. These rulers get beat up. Some of them are even worse. This one's like an okay one. Somebody like tried to attack it with a hacksaw or something. You know what I mean? People just abuse these things. Look at that corner. It's like a 45 degree, like somebody cut it off. So do not trust the ends of these rulers, I guess is the moral of that story. This, you know, if this was like a really wide ruler, it might work, but these things are not square. So this is the proper way to do it, because you know that paper comes from the manufacturer with 90-degree corners because they send thousands of them in a stack and they're all perfectly the same. They're all cut with a machine and they're all 8.5 by 11, right? So we know that part. We can count on that. So I would cut that out. In fact, I need to cut that out. You know, you don't need to know. This is not. We use a lot of math in here, but not like it's not overly complicated if you just think about what you need as your end result. Like, how can I make this work for that? So I need one more this size. So this is what I do every time when I'm making something, and it just works really, really well. Try not to crinkle that anyway. And same thing here. If you can find an edge that's already straight, it'll help you out. I don't have any really straight edges right now. This one was straight, but it's kind of gotten mangled. So I'll just go really close to it so I'm not wasting clay. If I just draw this out here in the middle, you know, theoretically I'm wasting clay. Sometimes I'll trace it with a pencil, sometimes I don't. I guess it just depends on how you feel, how confident you are in your slicing. I am, however, just lightly tracing it first with the knife. If you just go for it and you accidentally cut it at an angle and cut in towards the paper, then you messed up that piece of clay, right? So trace it first. And then I'll use my straight edge so I can use a little more pressure and I don't have to worry about it bending. The paper could bend when you cut along it, right? This is just trimming off a tiny bit to make it nice and straight. I was using the back side of the knife the whole time. All right, so let's get back on to making things here. So I've got this side and this side. Well, this side's going to go, let's talk about that in a minute. This side's supposed to go there, right? Because I've measured, this is a 4-inch square. The bottom is a 4-inch square, 4-inch square, 4-inch square. But why is this one not as tall as the other ones? Wait. I heard opposing ideas. What did I hear over here?
It needs to go like on top of the bottom.
It needs to go on top of the bottom, and what did you say over here? Okay, you're right. You both said the same thing, but different ways. Yeah, this one should go on the top of this bottom one, but now it doesn't fit because it's. But I cut it 4 inches. 4 inches is the outside, so I need to trim some off. So whatever that is, I could measure it, or I could. For today, I'm just going to wing it. That's not going to make a very square box, is it? So here's the other problem. I don't know if these are perfectly straight up and down or square or not, because they move too. So really, I should measure what this distance is. It's 3.5, and cut this down to 3.5. It's actually a tiny bit under 3.5, so I cut a little more. It's even less than that. Alright, so it's going to go in there, right? And so is this one. It's going to go over here, and that'll make us a box once those are all attached. Should work out pretty well. Should work out. So I need to now score and slip. Let's start with this one. Yeah, go ahead, Carson. Or Connor. Sorry. I'm calling him by his brother's name. Score and slip this one, and this one. You notice I'm using the scoring tool to actually apply the slip, right? Some people say, a lot of people will teach it to score and then add the slip to it. I just do it all at the same time. So then I need to attach or score all of these in here. And the drier the piece is, the more slip you should add. You know, as it starts to get leather hard or drier, you need to make sure you're adding enough slip that it really softens the clay where you're adding the two together. Attaching them to it. Is it still going over there?
Yep.
All right. Pay special attention to the corners up here at the top and the top over here. Those are the areas that will dry out the fastest and crack first, because when they dry, things tend to crack in ceramics when they dry out. So make sure you add enough slip up the corners and you apply enough pressure when you attach this piece that you get a really, really good connection at the top corners. So that's going to slide in there. Wiggle and push it down. I can't get this a little too tall for my fingers, so I'm going to work on both sides, two hands like this. And then you do the same thing on the sides, wiggle and push those sides together. Really force those score marks together. Wiggle and push, paying close attention to the top corners especially. Make sure you really force that on there. And you can see like some of the slip is like starting to ooze out. That's how hard I'm pushing. I'm not just sticking it on there, right? I already did that, right? I just kind of stuck it on there and then knocked it off, right? Yeah, you got to really force it on there. So then the real catch, this is what really gets people. Everybody wants to skip this step because they think it's extra or something, but this is what really, really holds it together. After you get them together and you've scored and slipped and you really wiggled and pushed and forced them together, take your scoring tool and score right over the seam. Just score across that corner right there and across this corner right here, and then all the way down the sides. And across the bottom. I'll turn it around so you guys can see in just a second. I go all the way across. I did the bottom and one side already. I'm going to go back and do that side and the bottom. I'm going to come along and score across here. Really, I should do that while I'm supporting the bottom side. What that's doing is taking a little bit of clay from one slab and dragging it across to the other slab. So you're actually taking clay and smushing it across that seam with the tool. And it makes a horrible mess, right? It's ugly. Nobody wants to turn that in. Nobody wants to keep that. But that's okay. Once I've done this all the way around and I've attached the fourth side, then you're going to go back and smooth it out with one of these other tools. This one is called the wooden rib. And it's a fabulous tool for smoothing out all those score marks.
What is it called?
Wooden rib. And let me say that again. You will need to know all this, these tool names and vocabulary and stuff. I'll focus more on the vocabulary next week, assuming that I'm here. So I'm not harping on the vocabulary right now, other than like leather hard, you definitely need to know that, and score and slip, you need to know that. The tools, we'll start adding them in. Alright, so this is already better. It's not 100%, but it's definitely better than it was a minute ago. Right? Yeah, it's cleaner. It's not perfect, but you can't see all those score marks, right? That's better. So let me just add this one in here real quick, and then I'll show you the final step. You good? I'm trying to do this fast so we have plenty of time here. I know y'all get antsy at 7 period. I did it. You'll notice I am working on a piece of newspaper. You don't have to work on a piece of newspaper on your desk or table, whatever. I'm mostly doing it so that I don't get this bottom piece of paper saturated with the water from the clay, because the paper will draw water out of the clay. So you don't have to use a piece of newspaper. If you find that everything's sticking to the table though, newspaper will help you help that stop happening. All right. It's the last wall that I'm putting on. Yep. All right, wiggling and pushing. Forcing the sides together, forcing the sides together, forcing the sides together. Scoring across the connections that I just made, just like I did a minute ago. That was a little tall, didn't it? I don't know what happened there. Scoring across here. And I'm working pretty fast. I mean, you can work this fast if you can really get it all together. This is fine. You could build a little box like this in one class period if you're not talking like I am. I'll come back in a minute and I'll smooth all this out. So here's the last thing you really need to do to make sure that this thing is secure. Especially when you're building something that's box-like like this, and you've got these 90-degree corners, you need to reinforce the insides also. I've kind of reinforced the outsides by scoring across the seams like I did on this one. But you need to reinforce the insides. So get in there with your scoring tool and a little bit of slip and score just on the inside corners. Just a little bit. You don't have to do this a ton. You don't have to be as aggressive because there's already some scoring and slip left over from when you're doing the edges. Each corner and the bottoms, all the bottom edges. Alright, then what you need to do is roll a coil of soft clay to reinforce those seams. So grab some clay that's not leather hard. It can be a little bit drier than fresh and soft, but it should be pretty easy to work with. Everybody remembers rolling a coil? Ah, if you haven't done it, I guess you don't remember, huh? This is a coil. Rolling out a coil. It's just like a little... Yeah, it's the same idea. Same idea. Roll out a coil that's the size of a pencil or smaller. A little smaller. It can be a little smaller. Not bigger than a pencil is. So shoot for something like the size of a pencil, right? That's about right. Alright, so then that you're going to use to reinforce the inside edges, inside corners of this box. So I scored and slipped in there. I'm going to put this right inside there. Smush it in a little bit. Blend. You're going to blend it in a minute. I'm just going to get them all in there first. You'll notice also that I'm always reinforcing the outside as I'm pushing on the inside so I don't accidentally push the walls down. So those are the four vertical corners. I also need to do these four bottom edges, so I need to roll another coil, but I'll just show you what this looks like first. You look in there, you can see the coil that I put in there and kind of smushed it into place. You can see all my little finger marks in there. Alright, so then you're going to take that, thanks, you're going to take that and blend half of that coil onto each side of the corner. So this one down here, I'll go around the room and show everybody, but you're going to take half of this coil and blend it over here, and half of the coil and blend it over to the other side. This little thing is called a wooden knife, and it's really good for doing exactly what I'm doing, getting inside of a tight spot when you need to blend something and you can't fit your hand or your fingers in there. So you're going to take half of this coil and blend it over here to this side, and half the coil and blend it over to that side. Like so, all the way down to the bottom. Yep, you know, see? You're like blending it out.
It says the battery's low.
And you do that all the way around. And then, man, there's a lot, right? You thought we were done already, didn't you? No. You can go back in with something like this. Did I tell you what this one's called yet? Wooden rib, yeah. You can go back in with the wooden rib and straighten up those inside corners where you just did all that blending and smooth it out, make it look nice, make it look good. You still need to do this, or I still need to do this on the bottom corners. I didn't do the bottom yet. I've only done the sides so far. Make sure when you're doing that on the inside, that you're reinforcing on the outside, because with this tool I'm pushing out right now. And I could easily push this seam that I just made, push it apart. So I need to hold on the outside while I'm pushing on the inside with that rib. I also need to finish blending out here. Make all that smooth. Because this is the difference between simply making a thing out of clay and making a thing that's good out of clay and looks nice and will either you'll be proud of or get you a good grade, whatever your motivation is. Or maybe it's something that your grandma will love for Christmas, whatever your motivation is, right? So that corner's looking pretty good. This corner needs a little work. The insides, two of the corners are looking good, two of the corners need a lot of work. The bottom edge still needs a lot of work. This is all right. It's got like lots of little chunky pieces all over it. Really, I need to stop working where this is because this is making such a mess. I need to either clean my table if that's the work table I'm working on, or move and get a new piece of newspaper.